I keep saying we need some brilliant minds in law enforcement to help change this profession. And I want to feature this woman today, Moren McGuff, Mo McGuff. And I want to read her resume verbatim so you hear the importance of what she's doing, because I'm going to pose a very important question at the end of this. Now, Moren McGuff, she's a senior advisor. This is from the University of South Carolina. I'm reading this verbatim, and it's a lengthy read, but I want you to pay attention very specifically because these are the leaders in law enforcement across America. She is a senior advisor, and her department is Excellence in Policing and Public Safety, the EPPS program. With a demonstrated history of collaborative reform with hundreds of police departments across the U.S., McGuff is one of the country's leading facilitators of police practitioner partnerships. Now listen to some of the work that she's done. She began her career as an attorney for the U.S. Department of Justice, originally as a special assistant attorney for the District of Columbia. Through her work, she became engaged in research and policy through the National Institute of Justice, where she ultimately served as a senior policy advisor for most of her career. Her portfolios include improving law enforcement responses to human trafficking, preventing wrongful convictions, facilitating system-wide reforms, optimizing counter-poaching operations in Kenya, coordinating federal AIDS relief in efforts in Rwanda through the Department of State, and advancing evidence-based policing in the U.S. Continuing, McGuff conceptualized and launched Law Enforcement Advancing Data and Science LEADS program to support research-minded enforcement professionals. Now, a multi-million-dollar program in its 10th year. She also served as a counsel on terrorism prevention to the Deputy Attorney General of the United States and represented the U.S. before the United Nations Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice. In November of 2023, she joined the Excellence in Policing and Public Safety program as their founding executive director. She holds a part-time appointment as the senior advisor on policing issues with the Bureau of Justice and at the U.S. Department of Justice. She regularly writes for practitioner publications, including Transnational Criminology, the NIJ Journal and Police Chief. And her scholarly publications include Policing, a Journal of Policy and Practice, a Journal of Community Safety and Well-Being, a book in the chapters of Transforming Criminal Justice and Police Unions and the Reform Movement. McGuff left federal law enforcement after a decade of service to hold leadership positions in several nonprofits, advancing the police profession and collaborative reform. She served as the Director of National Programs and the Research of National Policing Institute and as Chief of Strategic Initiatives at the Policing Projects at NYU School of Law. Her work focused largely on establishing and evaluating basic minimum standards for police departments regarding fairness and equity and operational management, internal and external accountability, and effectiveness of public safety strategies. McGuff also co-founded the 30 by 30 initiative to advance women in policing, a national grassroots effort to improve the representation and experiences of women in policing and raise the representation of women to 30% in police recruit classes by the year 2030. Built from scratch with no initial funding, the initiative is now a multi-million-dollar effort that boasts partnerships with over 400 law enforcement agencies across the nation, including NYPD, LAPD, and the FBI. Her work on gender equity has been featured in the Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, USA Today, Vox Media, ABC, and Cosmopolitan, among others. McGuff is an attorney and earned her JD from the George Washington University School of Law. She serves on the advisory board for the FBI's Law Enforcement Education and Training Council, the American Society of Evidence-Based Policing, the U.S. Department of Justice Police Knowledge Lab, and Policing Leadership Academy at the University of Chicago. She is a Brookings Public Leadership Executive Fellow. So with that absolutely fantastic resume that you have, I have one question for you, especially as somebody who's advocating for law enforcement and pushing a 30 by 30 agenda. Not once in your resume did I ever read about you spending time as being a police officer on the street in any capacity whatsoever. Listen, I have one of the largest police content creation platforms right now in the world, and I feature exclusively law enforcement content for the purpose of educating the public, changing cop culture, and changing cops' attitudes for the profession to improve it on the street. I don't have all the answers. This is my open invite on a public forum for you to have a conversation and challenge me on the 30-30 agenda. This is not a gotcha. This is simply me asking you some incredibly tough, necessary questions from a guy who did work the street. I applied my knowledge. You're an academic. Your resume clearly says you're a policy pusher. You didn't apply the knowledge. But that being said, I want to be wrong. I am open to publicly endorsing and supporting the 30 by 30 agenda if it is presented in a way where all Americans can look at it after hearing someone like you advocate for it and say, absolutely, we need this. So again, this is not a gotcha. This is not to make you look bad. I am offering you a platform to come on and talk to one of the largest law enforcement social media platforms there is, unedited, nothing unfair, completely. You already know the agenda. I want to hear your side. I hope you will take me up on this. I hope we'll have a discussion. I'm hoping I turn out to be completely wrong and I learn something from it. But from right now, no American on this planet should listen to an academic who never worked a day on the road and did nothing but push policy from a position of behind the desk and talk about what needs to be changed in this profession. You just shouldn't. I hope you'll take me up on the invite, and I truly hope you'll prove me wrong.